I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. Man's empty praise and treasures the fate I never enough. And you came along, put me back together, and every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Lord, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing, nothing is better than you. I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you see them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley. There's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Lord, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing, nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing, nothing is better than you. All right, church, let's sing this out together. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. Sing that one more time. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I find my battles. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. This is how I find my battles. 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 It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. This is how I find my battles. 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 This is how I find my battles.
It's so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take him at his word, and just to rest upon his promise, just to know thus saith the Lord. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how I proved it o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust him more. Oh, how sweet, oh, how sweet to trust in Jesus, just to trust his cleansing blood, just in simple faith to plunge me 'neath the healing, cleansing flood. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how I proved it o'er and o'er. And Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust him more. I'm so glad I learned to trust him, precious Jesus, Savior, friend. And I know that you are with me and will be with me to the end. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how
Hey everyone, I hope you're well today. If you're joining us for the very first time and you'd like to know more about The Bridge, we would love to connect with you further. To start with, you can email us at hello@thebridgemarkham.com. You can also text the word connect to the number on your screen, or you can visit thebridgemarkham.com/new and fill out a connection form. If you fill out that form, we'll have an email gift card for you. We also want to give you the opportunity this morning to prayerfully and purposefully give. You can give your offering in 3 easy ways: by sending an e-transfer to giving@thebridgemarkham.com, or by giving through the online platform PushPay at the link on your screen, or by mailing and dropping off a check to our business address at the church here. We thank you for being faithful to God in this way of giving. As we head into the month 3 of lockdown and the slow, methodical reopening of churches, I'd like to take a few minutes and solidify in our hearts and our minds the importance of maintaining the path that we're on here at The Bridge. Eugene Peterson has said, "Faith is long obedience in the same direction." This describes our approach to things here at The Bridge. We've not been given over to novelty or newness or freshness for novelty's sake. One of our values is intentionality. We're a thoughtful leadership group here at The Bridge, and we seek to be inclusive to as many as possible and to be intelligible or understandable in the presentation of Jesus to our community. Intentionality, intelligibility, inclusive, influential, and yes, intimate are the 5 I's that describe our values. It's how we live and breathe as a church. And by God's grace, they guide our path and they set before us a direction. We will always be this kind of church, whether in person or online. Here's what we know to be true. Just because the novelty of online church is wearing off for some, doesn't mean that there isn't great long-term potential for a world in which practically everyone we want to reach is online. Right now, God has given us an amazing opportunity to be even more than what we were 3 months ago. As God allows, we will once again slowly and safely make our way back to gathering together as we've always known and enjoyed. But I don't want you to miss what's really happening here. In God's providence, as He is in control, we have had this amazing and authentic way of communicating to so many more that we would not have had the opportunity to do otherwise. Here at The Bridge, we see ourselves as a church that gathers, a church that groups, a church that gives, and a church that goes. We're a 4G church, and I'm here to tell you that we are authentically fulfilling all 4 Gs in a most unique but effective way right now. In-person attendance is going to be reduced for a long period to come. In all likelihood, you won't be able to see in-person attendance levels that match our previous in-person numbers for a while, perhaps even a long time. We're preparing for the reopening, but we're not so distracted by the reopening or other churches' reopening strategies that we lose the ground that we've gained through our online presence. Many people are worshiping, being discipled in Jesus, experiencing life-changing fellowship, and involved in ministry in incredibly vibrant ways. What we are experiencing is not novel. It's new, to be sure, but it's not a stopgap measure until more ideal circumstances present. The kingdom of God is now. It's not later, it's right now. And The Bridge is advancing, growing, and thriving in the context of its online strategies. So I like to resonate once again with Eugene Peterson, who says, faith is a long obedience in the same direction. We will faithfully go about optimizing our opportunities to be a church that gathers, groups, gives, and goes. And we have no interest in going back to the way things were. We only see an expanded and God-provided opportunity to reach a world in need of Jesus through all means given. So, let's stay faithful, let's maintain our engagement, let's open our eyes to the new and the wonderful things that God is doing right now. And I commit to you that when it's safe and when it is most advantageous, we will once again be gathering on our campus for the purpose of finding even greater and more creative ways of reaching our world for Christ. Stay tuned for next week as we will be bringing to you a survey to invite your thoughts on our reopenings.
Finding rest, searching for peace, allowing our hearts to catch up with our lives.
I've had some conversations with a few people over this last little while, and it's been interesting to hear from so many people who are struggling to maintain positivity and helpfulness even in their most intimate relationships. The way we speak to each other reveals so much about what's going on in our hearts. In Proverbs, it says the tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. So this is seen in homes where the parents, aunts, uncles, and other siblings are quick to say hurtful and unkind things. These words are just thrown out with little or no regard for the impact that they're having on the receiver. Parents, how can you call your child silly, lazy, crazy, or stupid and expect anything different from them? Spouses, how can you say to your wives or your husbands, "You're annoying, you're irritating," and expect him or her to become your dream partner? We sow what we reap, meaning your child, your husband or your wife, your colleague, your driver, they likely display all the negative things that you keep accusing them of. In order to see positive changes, you need to sow positive words and seeds. Ephesians 4:29 confirms this. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as that which is good for building up as it fits the occasion, and it may give grace to those who hear. Today, we're reminded of the power that we carry in our tongues. If we acknowledge the fact that we were created in God's image, He who created the world by speaking it into existence, He states this in Psalm 33, "By the word of the Lord the heavens were made, and by His breath, the breath of His mouth, all their host." Then we need to accept the responsibility that comes with this huge gift of being able to speak things into existence. In James chapter 3, it says, if anyone can control his tongue, it proves he has perfect control over themselves. The New Century Version says, if people never say anything wrong, they would be perfect. We love to talk, don't we? Talk shows are on 24 hours a day on the radio and television. I did some research this week. If you're an average North American, you will have 30 conversations a day. You will spend 1/5 of your life talking. In 1 year, you'll speak enough words to fill 53 1,000-page books. The longest sermon ever preached was by Clinton Lacey, which was 48 hours and 18 minutes long. And I intend to break that record today. Just kidding. Because we speak all the time, we often get into trouble with our words. How many of you have ever gotten into trouble with your words? Today, we need to look at how do I manage my mouth? And the title of the message in our Soul Detox series is Taming the Toxic Tongue. James says that if you contain your tongue, you'll be perfect. Why must I learn to manage my mouth? Well, there's 3 reasons. Number 1, because my mouth directs where I go. It sets the direction for our lives. James gives us a couple of great illustrations. In verse 3, he says, we can make a large horse turn around and go wherever we want by means of a small bit in its mouth. He's saying even a little girl can ride a 2,000-pound horse and can direct it by putting a simple bit under the horse's tongue. In the same way, we use just a word that ultimately directs not only our direction, but other people's direction. And it can either keep you on course or it can get you off course. It can keep you in the straight and the narrow, or it can get you detoured by what you say. Your words affect the direction of your life. In verse 4 of our text, it says, or take ships as an example. Although they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they're steered by a very small rudder wherever the pilot wants it to go. The Queen Mary is a ship that's 3 acres long. The anchor on the Queen Mary weighs the equivalent of 10 cars, yet the huge ship is steered by a relatively small rudder. It directs it, and James is saying, just like a little rudder that directs that ship, your tongue is the rudder of your life. It's the guidance system for your life. The steering wheel of your life is the way you talk. It's your words, it's your mouth, it's your tongue. Because the tongue is such a small part of your body, we tend to forget its importance. Yet it is exactly and actually controlling everything about your life. Just like the rudder sets the direction of a ship, and just like the bit sets the direction of a horse, the way you talk directs where you're going and where you'll ultimately end up. As a parent, I am often amazed at the influence of my words. Sometimes just a casual, offhanded comment can either heal or it can hurt. It can send my very impressionable young children in one direction, or it can send them in another direction. You have no idea how powerful your words really are for yourself and for others. And because we don't realize how strongly they do set the direction of our lives, we talk about all kinds of stuff without watching our words. And James is simply saying that we need to understand our mouth directs where you and others go. If you want to know where you're headed in the future, look at your conversation. Have someone audit what it is that comes out of your mouth on a regular basis. One of the things that becomes apparent is that what you talk about the most, whatever you talk about the most, you're tending to move in that direction. Do you talk about the Lord the most? Do you talk about money the most? Do you talk about your problems the most? Whatever you're focusing on, that's the way you're headed in life. We shape our words, then our words shape us. If you don't like the direction of your life, if you don't like the way you're headed in life, change your vocabulary. I'm not talking about cussing. I'm just talking about the topics you talk about all the time. Your mouth, the Bible says, directs you. Proverbs 13:3 says, self-control means controlling the tongue. If you want to get control over your life, get control over your conversations. The second thing that I want to share with you is that our mouths can destroy what it is that we actually have. Again, he gives us a picture in verses 5-6. He says, the tongue is a small thing, but what an enormous amount of damage it can do. A great forest can be set on fire by one tiny spark, and the tongue is a flame of fire. More than 1,000 firefighters battled a wildfire for 2 weeks in the Black Hills of South Dakota. The fire started on August the 24th and was not contained until September 8th. Meanwhile, over 8,000 acres of valuable timber were burned. A 46-year-old woman named Janice Stevenson was arrested on suspicion of starting the fire. If convicted, she faces up to 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. She could also be billed for the cost of the blaze, which authorities say may run into the hundreds of millions. Federal investigators who filed charges against Mrs. Stevenson say she admitted to stopping by the roadside on August the 24th, lighting a cigarette, and tossing the still burning match into the grassy ground beside her. Rather than putting out the fire, the affidavit said she looked at it and decided to leave the area. Smoldering matches require little to produce a wildfire. And our tongues, according to James, are similar. And rumors, half-truths, grumbling, sarcastic remarks, hurtful things said in the heat of anger, all of these smoldering matches have the potential for burning down acres of office morale, family peace, and church unity. Only you can prevent the fire that comes out of your words. It's your choice. Just like a careless camper can destroy an entire national park, a careless word can destroy an entire life. I often wonder, how many marriages are destroyed by careless words? How many children are scarred for life by careless words? How many careers are short-circuited by careless words? How many relationships are devastated by careless words? How many health problems are caused by careless words? On and on I could go. So many of our problems in life come from our tongue and from the way in which we talk. So James says that our words are like a little spark and they can start an enormous forest fire. Have you ever met a verbal arsonist? They're always using inflammatory words. Nothing spreads faster than fire like gossip. It spreads faster than even fire. There are verbal arsonists who go around gossiping all the time, spreading rumors, spreading fires, starting them up, fanning the flames instead of dousing them. In the award-winning film The Joy Luck Club, one little girl has the capacity in her own words to see the secrets of the chessboard. This special gift enables her to become a national chess champion by age 8. Her only liability is a driven parent who is both envious of her daughter's gifts and selfishly using her to fulfill her own ambition for wealth and power. At one point, the little girl dares to speak back to her mother, and the woman responds first by giving an icy, silent treatment, then by saying to her daughter, "You are nothing. You're nothing at all." This is how the little girl describes what happened next. What she said to me was like a curse. This power that I had, this belief in what I'd been given, I could actually feel it draining away. I could feel myself becoming so ordinary, and all the secrets that I had once saw, I could no longer see. All I could see were my mistakes and my weaknesses, and the best part of me had disappeared. James chapter 3, verse 6 says the tongue is set on fire by hell itself, and it can turn our whole lives into blazing flame of destruction and disaster. Fire and words have a lot in common. Fire under control is good. Fire under control gives warmth. Fire under control gives light. It's comforting. But fire out of control, it's devastating. Words under control give encouragement. They give light. They give warmth. That's what a word of encouragement can do. Words out of control can be just as damaging and destructive as a fire. My words direct where I go and can destroy what I have. They turn a little thing into a big thing. It sets on fire the course of nature, and there's a chain reaction that happens with our words. So what's the antidote? Proverbs chapter 21, verse 23 says, "Keep your mouth closed and you'll stay out of trouble. A closed mouth gathers no foot." Proverbs 18 says, "You will have to live with the consequences of everything you say." Verses 7 through 8, James gives us an illustration from a zoo. All kinds of animals have been tamed by man, but no one can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil, full of deadly poison. Humanly speaking, the tongue is uncontrollable. We can tame all kinds of animals: Lassie, Flipper, Benji, and Clyde the orangutan. They can tame anything, but you can't tame the tongue. It's uncontrollable from a human standpoint. It's restless and it's full of deadly poison. Restless in Greek means literally liable to attack at any minute. We sometimes blurt out an offense. In the Greek, it says that it's like poison. The word literally is snake venom. Just a few drops can kill you. The tongue can be a deadly weapon. And some of you are still recovering from the words that hurt you back in childhood. That's how damaging our words can be. We have to be aware that they direct our lives and they can destroy whatever we have if we don't watch out. There's a third reason that James says we have to learn to manage our mouth. My mouth displays who I am. It reveals my inner character. It says who I really am. When you go to a doctor and he sits you down on one of those tables, and the first thing he says to you is stick out your tongue, then he takes the thermometer and he sticks it under your tongue. Why? Because for one reason or another, your tongue tells what's going on inside of you. If you want to know what a person is really like, look at their words. Look at how they talk. Look at their conversation. It's a mirror to what is really going on. One of the things that our words reveal is our inconsistencies. In verse 10, James says, "Out of the mouth come praise and cursing." This should not be. When he talks about cursing here, he's not talking about swearing or vulgarity. He's just talking about put-downs, snide remarks, sarcasm, words that tear down rather than words that build up. Many of you have no problem about swearing. You've conquered that habit a long time ago. But you do have a cutting tongue, or you do have a tendency to say words that put people down, that tear down rather than build up. He says, out of the same mouth come both praise and cursing. This should not be. It's amazing how quickly we can change in our talk. I say the most hurtful things to the people I actually love the most. Do any of you struggle with that? I don't understand it. It really bothers me. Sometimes I'll say things that are so unkind to people in my family that I love the most that I would never really want to say this to anyone else. What is the problem here? Why would I do that? Why do I do these unkind things? What's the real issue? Well, verse 12 tells us, can you pick olives from a fig tree or figs from a grapevine? No. And you can't draw fresh water from a salty pool. He's saying when you've got a problem with your mouth, consider the source. You don't get grapes off of an apple tree. You don't get pears off of a cherry tree. The nature of the tree determines the fruit. My inner nature is going to determine how I speak. If I've got a problem, it's down deep inside. It's the nature issue, not even a mouth issue. He says, can fresh water come out of a salty pond or a salty well? No. Whatever is in the well is going to come out. Now we're going to get here to the issue. The heart of the issue is an issue of the heart. That's the real issue here. The problem is not my tongue that I can't control. The problem is my heart. And Jesus says, for out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. My mouth betrays what is really going on in my heart. I may be kidding you for a little while, but eventually my mouth will betray what my heart is really like. And Jesus explained the Freudian slip long before Freud was even around. It comes from the inside. That's where the change needs to take place. Not just making a resolution, I'm not going to say this anymore. That's working on the externals, but on the internals. Sometimes you hear people making excuses. I don't know why I said that. That's not like me. I'm not like that. It just came out. That's not like me at all, someone might say. But James, he would say, yes, it is. It's just like you. Your mouth reveals what is really going on in you. And if you're filling your mind all the time with garbage, it's going to come out in who you are. You're piling all this stuff in, it's bound to come out. Garbage in, garbage is bound to come out. Whatever you put into your heart is eventually going to come out through your mouth. If you show me somebody with a harsh tongue, I'll show you somebody with some anger in their heart. If you show me somebody with an overactive tongue, talking all the time, I'll show you somebody with an unsettled heart. Show me somebody with a judgmental tongue, and I'll show you somebody with a guilty heart. Show me somebody with a sarcastic, biting tongue, and I'll show you somebody with a bitter heart. Show me somebody with a boasting tongue. They're bragging all the time, and I'll show you somebody with an insecure heart. It is only revealing what's going on inside of you. On the other hand, show me somebody who's encouraging all the time, and I'll show you somebody with a happy heart, somebody who's gentle in their speech. They are somebody with a peaceful heart. Whatever is on the inside is what is going to come out of the mouth. That's what James says. And when God helps us change and God helps us manage the manageables in our life, and one of them happens to be our speech, he's always starting on the inside. Let me just ask the practical questions. How do I change? Well, I've got 3 ways. Number 1, get a new heart from God. He specializes in heart transplants. In Ezekiel, it says, rid yourselves of all offenses, all that you've committed, and get a new heart and a new spirit. Painting the pump isn't going to do any good if the water inside the pump is contaminated. All the external things are fine and good, but what you really need is to start with something that is radical in terms of surgery. You need a new heart. You need to say, God, I need you to do a supernatural miracle in my life and replace this hard heart, the bitter heart, the hurting heart, the insecure heart, the angry heart. God, I need you to work in my life and replace that insecurity, the fearful heart forever with your heart so that the right words can come out. You need to pray like David did in Psalm 51. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit in me. How do you get that? Well, you get that through Jesus. The Bible says in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17, when anyone becomes a Christian or a Christ follower, he becomes a new person inside. The old is passed away and the new has come. He gives you a heart transplant. It's called being born again. And it means starting over. You're not turning over a new leaf. You're getting a whole new life. Only God can do that. The second thing I want to encourage you towards is to think before you speak. Put your mind in gear before you put your mouth in gear. In James chapter 1, verse 19, it says, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. If you do this, the first two parts of that, the third one is actually automatic. If you're quick to listen, and if you're slow to speak, which were usually the exact opposite, then you will be slow to become angry. You need to think before you speak. Somebody wrote on a blue card once for me the word think. T stands for, is it truthful? H, is it helpful? And then I, is it inspirational? N, is it necessary? K, is it kind? You need to think before you speak. Do I really need to say this? Is it going to build up or is it going to tear down? I'm thinking of your kids. I'm thinking of your spouse. I'm thinking of the people that you work with or your neighbors. Is it going to be helpful to them? Finally, the third thing that I want to challenge you towards is to ask God for help every single day. Here's a good prayer to pray. Psalm 141 verse 3 says, Lord, help me to control my tongue and help me to be careful about what I say. I need God's help to break lifelong habits. Both the bit in the horse's mouth and the rudder on the ship are still useless unless there's somebody in charge and who knows what they're doing, and they know how to direct. If you'll make Jesus Christ the captain of your ship and let him steer the rudder, you'll be able to make the changes that are necessary in order for your tongue to be renewed. When God wants to make a change, he starts on the inside, and you need a life manager for that to take place. That's either going to be you or you're going to need somebody much greater than you, that being Jesus himself. One surefire way to begin this process of getting a new heart is to simply say to Jesus himself, I want you, Jesus, to be the manager of my life. I want you to call the shots, and I want you to help me with the things that are so hard to control. I trust you to lead me, guide me, and give me the new heart that I need.
All my days I've been held in your hand. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire, and in darkest nights you were close like no other. And I've known you as a father, 'cause I have lived in the goodness of God. Yeah. And all my life you have been faithful. For all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Yeah, your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after me. With my love laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after me. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, we're gonna say yes. All my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God.
Thanks so much for joining us today. I truly hope you were encouraged by today's message. Remember to leave a comment below for us to connect back with you. And for sure, you're going to want to visit all these helpful links in the description that is below in this video. They are there to be a resource for you. Well, we'll see you next week.